So the Bills are holding camp Rochester, New York right now. This year there's been some talk, of course, again, the division getting a little bit better. Can the Bills still be atop the AFC conference with the likes of the Chiefs and the Bengals? We welcome in Evan Washburn here. And there's also a little bit of drama with Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. Evan, we'll get to that in just a second. But some big news today in regards to Damar Hamlin. What more can you tell us where you are?
Yeah, Tommy, this was a powerful day. Pads on for the first time, which is always a big day in training camp, but it took a whole nother level because it was the first time Damar Hamlin was in full pads and part of a full contact practice since suffering cardiac arrest on the field 7 months ago. And there were times where you would see him lock up with defenders in a similar fashion in some blocking drills and people going up to him. Brandon Beane, general manager of the Bills, giving him a big hug. This was an important step that after practice he described as a major hurdle for him. And he spent about 20 minutes speaking with reporters, going through the variety of emotions he's feeling and has felt today. This is something that he's built up towards, and to get through it and to make plays and to feel comfortable was so big for him, so big for this organization, his teammates, and you could really feel kind of a celebration happening on the field as he took the field once again in full pads for the first time in 7 months.
That is some great news to hear again where you are out there in New York. In terms of the Buffalo Bills, is this a team, the sense you're getting around it, Evan, that this is a team still ascending, that they still believe that they are Super Bowl contenders?
Absolutely. And you could argue, Tommy, that they're better this year. I know you went through the odds, maybe don't reflect that. And because of how they lost last year, especially in that Bengals game, it felt like they took a step back. Well, they improved their roster. They shored up the interior of their offensive line where they feel like they can protect Josh Allen better now. They've added some pieces around him, specifically in the draft, and Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah, who's making a ton of plays out here in camp and could be a nice sort of duo with Dawson Knox. And obviously you got Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis. This is a year expected to take another step in that direction to being a number 2 next to Diggs. And then defensively, once Von Miller's healthy, they feel like they have a D-line that is ready to consistently put pressure on the passer, and that's going to be so key in this division, in this conference, with the quarterbacks they're going to face over the course of this season. But internally, they feel like they are absolutely a Super Bowl contender. That's still the mentality, the approach, and they feel like they got better this offseason, deeper.
And, of course, here that news with Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, certainly maybe that is behind them. Ken Dorsey was someone that may be getting a little bit of criticism because of the success that they had with Brian Daboll, who then went to the Giants. What's year 2 looking like with him as OC?
Yeah, this is interesting, Tommy, because I heard all that as well. And look, you could pin some of their struggles down the stretch offensively, maybe on Ken Dorsey, but the reality is they were near the top, if not the top, in the NFL in drops. That's not an offensive coordinator's problem. And they also were close to the top in turnovers, and that's also not something that falls necessarily on the play caller. So Ken Dorsey did his job in a lot of ways last year to maintain the standard that Brian Daboll had set, and the players at times did not execute by turning it over or by dropping it. So I think that mentality, when you talk to Josh Allen like I did after practice, he continues to point to the fact that if they just cut their turnovers in half, they're having a historic season offensively. And they feel like some of those turnovers were self-inflicted. He knows there's going to be tip balls. He knows there's going to be great plays where he's maybe forcing it into a window. But if they can cut out some of the reckless play and also not drop as many balls, they feel like Ken Dorsey's led offense is going to be very, very effective.
Lastly, Evan, you touched upon Von Miller coming back from that injury. They lose Tremaine Edmonds via free agency, but Matt Milano's still there, Jordan Poyer's still there. How do you best describe this defensive unit coming into this new season?
Question marks, and you pointed at it, and the one you left off there is Sean McDermott is now the play caller. He's defensive coordinator de facto, obviously still the head coach. Leslie Frazier taking that year away. So I think that's probably where most of the focus is right now. What's that going to look like? Are they going to have a different style of defense? Is that going to impact other areas because he's the head coach? But the fact that they have Poyer and Hyde back is huge on the back end. You got Tre'Davious White, who looked as healthy as he did prior to that ACL injury, and that's a big deal to have an all-pro corner locked down on the outside. Von Miller, it's probably going to be a slow build to coming back. He's pointed to between week 1 and week 6, so that's a pretty wide variance. And that middle linebacker position at this point is a competition of guys that the common fan hasn't really heard of, but they feel confident in, that can fill that void. So this is a defense that statistically has been one of the best and most consistent, but they want to take that next step, much like this whole team does, and Sean McDermott feels like he might be able to stir that drink the right way.
Evan, it's been a minute. Great to be with you again. Thanks for hopping on CBS Sports HQ, the very latest from Bills camp. And again, our training camp tour continues. So again, Jags and Bills today. Browns and Raiders coming up tomorrow. We got Cards Steelers also later in the week, and Bengals Bucks. So a lot of twofers here in our training camp tour on the Q.